noise.
It's a double shot.
Okay, are we all ready to go? I call to order a meeting of the Hartford Selectboard at 6 p.m. on December 30th, 2025. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there someone who'd like to lead us?
We'll do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John.
Sure.
Okay, we have no local liquor control board business. I will close the select board and open as the local cannabis control board. Tonight we have to consider the CCB retail renewal application for Hidden Grove LLC. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I'm not particularly, unless you want me to say something.
No, I just thought if there's anything new going on, or, you know, how the last year has been.
Yeah.
You'd have to go up.
Go up there, okay. Hi, everyone, I'm Stephanie. The last year's been great. You know, we're almost 2 years in now and we're catching our feet and starting to figure it out. And there's a lot of stuff happening nationally with cannabis that is really interesting, and we'll see what the next year brings. It's always a roller coaster in this business.
Right.
So yeah.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Stephanie? All right, I'll take a motion.
Sure.
Yes, Miranda?
I move that we approve the CCB retail renewal application for Hidden Grove LLC.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I've got a second by Tim. Miranda, is Mike on at all?
No,
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous,
Thank you.
5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Long way to, well, not too long a way to come, but for a few minutes time. But thank you. Okay, so I will close as the Cannabis Control Board and we will reopen as the Select Board. Order of agenda, is there anybody who foresees a change? Any issues? Okay, and we will proceed as directed here. So we will start first off with public comment. Remember that you have 3 minutes. It's not the place for dialogue. If you have specific questions for town operations, please contact the town manager. Is there anybody in the room who would like to say something?
Hi.
Hi.
I thought I'd take this moment to just make a comment on the parking meters downtown.
Could you identify yourself just for the record?
Oh, yes, Stephanie Waterman. I'm a resident of White River Junction for over 22 years. I have owned a business downtown for 12 years now. Parking downtown is a disaster on certain days, as everybody is well aware. My concern with the parking meters coming on is how that will affect other lots in the area that aren't metered. You know, I'm at 230 South Main, which is, you know, the River Roost Big Fatties parking lot. You know, we're already seeing employees from downtown parking there and walking down. And I just am asking the board to consider opening conversation with downtown businesses, with maybe the chamber. How can we together as a community regulate the employees of businesses downtown so that they're parking in appropriate places, and so that there's room for all of our customers, and so that the problem of sort of the immediate downtown doesn't feather out into the other parking areas. And I just hope you guys will consider that. I'm really concerned once the meters come. Where are the employees going, and are they going to be filling my lot because I don't have meters there? So I just hope you'll consider those things.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there anybody online, Brenda? Okay, we will close public comment then and open the next item on the agenda is select board comments and announcements. Jim, would you like to start?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Ida?
No comments.
Miranda?
I will just say that I saw the video that JD put out, the Happy Holidays video from the town, and I thought it was really cute. And if people haven't seen it, they should look at the Hartford YouTube channel because it's a really nice video. That's it.
Thanks, Miranda. Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a thanks to the crews yesterday for keeping the roads passable. I'm sure it was a long and challenging evening and then day. So always good to have town staff keeping the roads passable. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just like to say that I want to wish all the departments and all the employees, all the staff members a happy new year, and to thank you for all the hard work you've done this past year. So we will then move on to appointments. First is a reappointment, so John does not have to be here, but we are going to consider the reappointment of John Reid to the Climate Action Steering Team for a 3-year term beginning December 30th, 2025 and ending December 29th, 2028. Is there a motion from the board? Yes, Miranda?
I move that the board reappoint John Reid to the Climate Action Steering Team for a 3-year term beginning on December 30th, 2025 and ending December 29th, 2028.
Is there a second?
A second.
A second from Ida. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's 5-0. And the second appointment is to consider the appointment of Mitchell's, is it Spenler?
Yes.
All right, thanks, Mitchell. To the Hartford Tree Board for a 3-year term beginning December 30th, 2025 and ending December 29th, 2028. And Mitchell, if you come up to the mic there and introduce yourself and your residence.
I'm Mitchell Spenler. I've lived in White River Junction for a little over a year now.
Okay, and is there anything that the board would like to ask Mitchell? We all had his application, read it.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments on trees. I think trees are really valuable, and it's nice to have people that are passionate about them. Candidly, I think we should probably, over the next few years, consider putting more money towards our trees that we have in town, kind of, do good work around that. So I appreciate you stepping up.
And Mitchell, I don't know if you know, because if you've been here for a year, but occasionally I go to the post office in Norwich.
Yeah.
And they actually, their conservation commission actually has information on the emerald ash borer and what they're doing. And I know you were talking about that and how it's affecting our trees.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm sure you've been to the hurricane forest.
no, not yet. No.
Okay. Scott, you got to get him to go. All right. Any other questions for Mitchell? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mitchell, for applying. Have you had a chance to attend any of the board meetings? And if so, do you have any reflections on?
No, I haven't attended any of them. Nope.
Okay. Looking forward to it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Ida?
I move that we approve the appointment of Mitchell Spenler to the Hartford Tree Board for a 3-year term beginning December 30th, 2025 and ending December 29th, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Second from Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we will move on to town manager's report.
Excuse me, right at the wrong time. Thank you, Madam Chair. Today's regular select board meeting was postponed from December 23rd when we normally would have held it. There will be another regular select board meeting on Tuesday, January 6th. In terms of town meeting preparations, just a reminder that we have several items in the cycle coming up. First will be warrant information night on Monday, January 12th at 6 p.m. here at Town Hall in this room. We will discuss the Wilder Water Main project that'll be on the town meeting ballot, the White River Water project that'll also be on the town meeting ballot, a TIF district wrap-up article that'll be on the ballot, and several local option tax spending proposals from the select board. On Budget and Candidates Night, which is Monday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. at the high school. You can hear more details about the budget, which will have been finally approved by then and described by Mary Erdai and myself. And you'll get a chance to meet candidates for all the elections coming up. At the Town and School District meeting, that'll take place on Saturday, February 28th at 10 a.m. at the high school auditorium. And finally, voting day will take place on Tuesday, March 3rd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the high school gymnasium. The interim finance director, Steve Daly, is now working remotely, and I think he'll be zooming in around 7 when we're expecting to have a discussion about budget update and recap. Meanwhile, the town has conducted interviews with 3 candidates for the permanent finance director position. So progress is being made. We're even further down the road, if I can use that phrase, for the public works director, with respect to having made an offer of employment, which has been accepted. We are planning to issue a press release shortly to identify the new DPW director, who will begin at the end of January with, I believe, a 1-week overlap with the incumbent, Brian Gazda, so there can be some handoff transitioning between the 2 of those people. Town offices, of course, will be closed on Thursday in observance of New Year's Day. There are a few items I'd like to emphasize from the SIGACs, if I could take a moment. First, the Hartford Police Department held their December Public Safety Coalition meeting and are planning to partner with the Planning and Development Office to conduct village meetings in the 5 villages of Hartford to combine the desire on the planning department's side of things to help neighborhoods and villages get together and develop their own identities and local activities, but also to use this forum as an opportunity to hear about public safety concerns from those various villages. There's 1 or 2 other items. The Department of Public Works notes that they held their kickoff meeting with the software vendor Analytical for the road assessment management program. Their solid waste transfer station said goodbye to site attendant Nick Whitty, who has been a loyal and dedicated employee for 5 years. We're wishing him all the best with his new position across the river at Lebanon DPW. They've also, at Solid Waste Transfer Station, welcomed Matthew Leamy as the new part-time site attendant and look forward to having him a long and productive career at the transfer station. The Parks and Rec Department have several things that they've highlighted in their SIGACs, but I'll just note that the department met with Ledyard Bank representatives to begin preparations for the Ledyard Red Zone 5K to be held February 7th. This event takes place the day prior to the Super Bowl, with a race starting at 10 a.m. At 10:30 a.m. The fun, run, and walk supports the Brian Hansen Scholarship Fund. Dana at the Environmental Sustainability Coordinator's Office reports that he and the town planner are coordinating and continuing work on updating the hazard mitigation plan. There have now been 2 productive meetings, and we're planning on holding public outreach meetings on January 15th and 22nd at the Bugby Center. The Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation has installed air quality monitors, I think, at the West Hartford Library and the Hartford Town Hall to collect data on air quality and particulate matter from wood-burning fireplaces in the area. These monitors will be in place for the rest of the winter and possibly longer. Department of Planning and Development notes that they had received a $30,000 grant award to complete a multimodal and parking analysis for downtown White River Junction. And in conjunction with this grant, Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission received a Northern Borders Catalyst planning grant, also addressing parking in the downtown area. Town staff will be working closely with Two Rivers on this joint effort. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay.
Thank you. John, just following up about warrant information night, is that always held in this room? I just like can't place.
It's not. Last
Okay.
year it was,
Okay,
and I think the year before, or the year or 2 years before, it was held at the new HACTC meeting room, meeting space. So we know that the school district has been wrestling with some issues about the usability of some of their spaces. And so we thought, since we had no problem holding the warrant information night here last year, that we could do it again this year. There is a spillover potential to room 2, so we can have that room perhaps hooked up for people if there's too many people to attend in
Right,
this
yeah.
space.
Yeah, and I'm just remembering about the format of it, I believe, so it's not necessarily that we are sitting here.
No.
Because we're not leading the meeting, it's
That's
more led
right.
by you and staff is presenting on.
And
their
Chuck
various-
Worcester, I think, had been the MC
Yes.
last year,
Okay.
and kind of just introducing the 3 folks, Chris Holsworth for those 2 projects, Lori for her TIF presentation, and then I think as many as 6 or 7, maybe to include Miranda over here, for some of the ballot articles.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up about that, because
Yeah.
I was remembering you had asked for a select board member.
We
to
did, and
propose-
Miranda was kind
yeah.
enough to jump right in.
Okay,
She
okay.
beat Eric to the punch.
Okay, okay, and that will be to sort of present the logic and advocate for using the remainder, the balance of the lot
Right.
to offset the general fund.
And I have in my mind like 3 or 4 slides that could make it quite quick and easy, and I could probably generate those even myself. Happy to share them with you, get your input, of course.
And I'm guessing prior to all the lot article presentations, there'll be like, maybe by you or someone, like an overview of reminding what the lot is and where that fund sits and
Yep.
what raises it.
Yep.
Or how it's raised and,
And I think the past presentations have done a good job. I know Scott Hauser's been very good at it,
yeah,
identifying where this is in the charter, what the language is, and what the ballot articles will be. So there's as little confusion as possible in the voting booth. But yeah,
Right.
we'll definitely do our best to make it as clear and easy for people to follow as possible. I think with a heavy emphasis on, we have $350,000. You've been generating this through your purchases in town of rooms, meals, and alcohol, and let's put this money to work on items that the select board believes are very supportable, and that take the pressure off of the tax burden.
Right.
So,
Okay, great.
thank you.
I think the biggest confusion still is between the sales tax
Right,
and that, so.
right.
And I mean, there just has been, it just is a little fuzzy that, in the past, with the meter confusion vote, it was like, we thought we were voting, people thought they were voting for the meters or not. And then again, with the Lyman Point Park, people voted it down because it was a high budget item and maybe they thought that was gonna raise their taxes. So
Right.
just to really clarify that this doesn't
Yes.
raise property taxes in any way, voting for these. And I mean, Scott, especially have you in mind with some of the items that we remove from your well-designed budget and put them on the lot to make clear that we don't have, this isn't in the general, like these items actually aren't in the general fund. And it would be very challenging to find a way to get these projects done if they're not approved. But yeah, I'm sure you'll be an excellent advocate and we'll back you up. I mean, yeah, just to reassure you, I don't think you'll be the only one speaking in favor of that. I'm happy to advocate for the Parks and Rec lot items as well.
It could be argued in the future in developing budgets that instead of necessarily needing to create this menu of lot items, you could designate all of those funds just as a straight fund contribution to a budget. So the budgets would be the budgets, they'd have their own merits and the stuff that's in them. And then that LLT, instead of it being item by item, it could actually be the entire amount applied to offset, similar to what we're trying to do with the local sales tax.
Yeah, based on what I've seen from the VLCT opinion, doesn't seem to be any limitation on doing that. I guess the only response on the devil's advocate side would be that that's not how the framers of lot had explained it to voters. They had used language like, we're going to put this in so that we can accumulate funds for the repair or replacement of things. And then there was the article in the in the charter that talks about putting this money in a capital reserve, which kind of gives people the impression that that's the general neighborhood in which you're going to use it. But you're right. There's nothing preventing the voters from supporting whatever they want to support.
I think the process is awkward to pluck out items and say, oh, we'll like, it just strikes me that if we got really good at budgeting, they would just be in the budgets for each respective department.
Yep.
You know, the capital reserves are being funded, you know that they're asking for appropriate items, and then you would just present it as a collective budget.
Thank you, Tim.
There are some who would like to modify the charter to make it easier for the select board to make use of lot funds without having to go to voters. That's even another opinion about it. Yep.
Thank you. Anybody on? Thanks, Miranda. Okay, so we will move on to 5A.
Well, we're well ahead of schedule. I wonder if Brian Gazda is either available in person or online. Oh, good.
Consider the proposal to purchase road salt, and I was thinking about this yesterday.
You're not the only one.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening,
Hi,
Brian.
Brian.
Good evening. Yeah, I apologize, but I'm doing it from the comfort of my home tonight with a nice fire in the background for.
Looks very inviting.
Okay.
We could have a meeting at your house.
So, before you is our annual road salt bid, and well, rejection of bid, and then going for an exception to hopefully utilize Cargill. We tried to get an early start on it this year, and we went out in September to actually do an RFP, which we received one bid at the $98.50, and then something from a no bid from Morton Salt. We also looked at state contracts. The one state contract that is for our district, which is VTran District 4, is with American Rock Salt. We had a hard time contacting them for a couple of months. And then finally, I was able to, about a week or so ago, get a hold of them, and they will not allow us to piggyback off of the state contract. And since we had done the RFP already, which they were aware of, they chose not to bid on it. So with that, we had also reached out to Cargill, who has been our supplier for the last several years. You know, they have their yard right down at the train station area back there. And they gave us a price of $98.25. And as you can see, rock salt's gone up. Since last year, there's been a shortage of it with the hard winter nationwide. So it has gone up quite a bit in costs that we're anticipating. So what I'm just asking for you tonight, I do believe we've done our due diligence to try to find us the cheapest price, would be to reject the one bid from Eastern Salt, and then to also authorize the exception to the purchase policy so that we can procure our salt from Cargill.
Any questions from the board for Brian?
So I have one quick question, Brian, just for perspective. So were we to convince the state of Vermont that we should be able to just piggyback on their price points? What's the differential there? Like
the price point for the state contract with American was $89.10.
So it's about a $6 per ton difference. Is that
a little bit more? Yeah, about $6, a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
There's actually a two-tier system. So that's the state contract. And then the state has another separate contracts that they list that the local municipalities, school districts, and other quasi-official public entities can go off of. And American wasn't even on that. Okay. So I did, like I said, we reached out to American directly to see if they would allow us to piggyback off of it, and they said no.
Any other questions?
I also think there's a huge advantage to using that local facility, honestly, because it's right there as opposed to like relying on a farther out source, if you will. So, I mean, yeah, we're paying kind of a premium.
Anybody online? Okay. All right. I'll take a motion from the board.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Eric.
I move that in accordance with the rejection of bids section contained in the sealed bid proposal, the bid from Eastern Rock Salt, Lowell, Massachusetts, in the amount of $98.50 per ton is rejected. And in accordance with section 3.7 of the town purchasing policy, the select board waives the requirement for competitive bidding for the purchase of approximately 2,500 tons of winter rock salt and authorizes the Director of Public Works to sign an agreement with Cargill Salt, North Olmsted, Ohio, at the price of $98.25 per ton for the 2025-26 snow removal season.
Is there a second?
Oh, second. Oh, go ahead.
Brandon,
Brandon's-
I saw Brandon first. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Hey,
Enjoy the fire.
Brian, are you at home with the video because your house is on the market and you're looking for offers?
Actually, John, the videos that are out there are a lot better than what you're probably seeing right now. So,
Okay.
So
Good luck.
they did a phenomenal job with the marketing of the videos out there. It's truly amazing what they can do nowadays. So,
Great,
anyway,
thank you.
thank you.
All right. So 5B, review capital improvement plan request for proposals and consider awarding contract.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This has taken us some time to realize a vision that several on the board have had for a while, and that is to take the individual capital improvement plans that are now in place and that do a good job of helping those departments prioritize and set reserves for future uses, to integrate those into a comprehensive capital improvement plan. I know that was a priority of Kim Souza, so if she's watching, hopefully she'll take some satisfaction knowing that we're making progress along those lines by having put out an RFP not once, but twice. The first RFP, as I mentioned in my memo, had a single applicant. I was checking on the one reference that they had, and that came back kind of lukewarm. So it encouraged me to go out to the marketplace again. We did. Again, we had one bidder, but it's one that at least I'm familiar with, and I think most members of the select board are familiar with. It's Alex Torpy of Think Local. He's a former multiple venue town manager. He works with another town manager who has served in multiple jurisdictions. So they have a lot of municipal experience between themselves. And as we know from the June 29th or 30th workshop that Alex did working with VLCT, he's somewhat familiar with certainly the board members and me, but also with some of the longer term projects or capital needs that the departments identified in preparation for that session. So the good news is their bid came in relatively low at about $20,500, excluding any of the add-ons. And we have $30,000 in a municipal planning grant, although of course, whatever is spent, we would have to be responsible for 10% of that as a local match. So the proposal is that the contract be awarded to Rethink Local, and that the town manager be authorized or encouraged to move the process forward by working with them to go through their process of community outreach, staff discussions, and select board interaction toward developing a more comprehensive capital improvement plan for the town.
Anybody have any questions for John?
Just one. So as we discussed this idea, I didn't know whether this was considered part of their package, but they had mentioned this idea of this kind of road monitoring equipment for conditions.
Right.
So could we expect that maybe the contract would be a little lower because we already have launched that?
Right. As I recall, their proposal was $20,500 for a basic Buick of a capital improvement plan, for lack of a better phrase, and you could buy add-ons to take it up to, maybe a Mercedes by getting these road assessment services.
Okay.
As you know from the discussion of SIGACs just tonight. That process is underway because DPW has already gotten select board approval to hire a contractor to help them with their own assessment of their roads through AI supported work.
Any other questions? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for doing the work, John, and getting proposals and putting this before us. This is super important and we need to do it. And I'm excited mostly about the potential for the outcome, having one lens through which we can look at, hopefully, some of our major capital improvements that are ahead of us. In digesting the RFP and the proposal, I spent some time looking at what some other towns do, including some towns across the river. So I'm not sure if New Hampshire's statutes, it seems like their statute might be a little different in terms of how they allow towns or encourage towns to do capital improvement planning. But Lebanon and Hanover both have some pretty good examples. And Alex was part of the work that was done in Hanover, at least for some period. So in learning more about this process, I was reflecting on how important it is for the town to own it. And the proposal that's before us basically has, it puts the consultant leading the effort. And I would counter propose that what we should be doing is standing up a town committee, as is done in both Lebanon and Hanover and other places, and then have the consultant act as an advisor to that committee. And that basically builds ownership of the process. It helps us learn through his experience and his expertise, and we come out of it with a robust plan and also a process by which we are able to repeat the cycle again and again, because every year it has to be updated,
Right.
or every year it should be updated. And so Lebanon has a really nice process description, that the outline of all of the steps that they go through. That could be one example, but at the beginning, it seems like the logical thing to do is to form a committee. And in Lebanon, for example, it's an offshoot of the planning board. It doesn't have to be that way here. I think in Hanover, it's like 2 select board members, facilities or DPW director, finance director, town manager, maybe a couple other people, maybe a few members of the public at large. And they are charged with, they have a standing charge, and that is to produce a report and a CIP at some point in the year. For us, it seems like it would be logical that it would be sometime in the August timeframe. So given that, we want to go into budget season with a good picture of what the CIP looks like for this year and the year in question in the next 5 years, it sort of eases up the timetable there. The proposed timetable has Alex and company hitting the ground pretty hard, like right in January. And if we're fortunate enough to have a new DPW director in place at that point, they're probably just getting their feet on the ground. Maybe they need a little bit more time. Not sure where things stand with the finance director. We're obviously fortunate to have Lori in planning and development, who would also be part of this process, I think. So all that to say that I would suggest that we can relax. We have the opportunity to relax the timetable and the schedule if that would work for the consultants. I think the consultants are a good choice. But I think that relaxing the timetable and doing some of our work in-house first, maybe this really is buying a block of consulting time. And step one is the town sets up a committee and a process that we use every year and with some advice and consulting from the consultants as step one, and then the process kicks off, and the consultant can be instrumental in reducing the amount of work that department heads have to do, because department heads are very busy, but they should be sort of right in the mix of it, I think. So anyway, these are some of the thoughts I'm having, and it's basically a sort of a twist on what's there before us, but with the idea of the analogy that I keep coming back to is riding a bicycle. We can stand there and watch a consultant ride a bicycle and have him explain to us how it's done, or we can get on and ask him to spot us. Like if we look like we're going to smash our heads, please, like step in. But that's sort of my thinking on this, is that it's important for the town to own this, and the beginning is just sort of forming a committee and a process and setting that down on paper, and then asking the consultant to contribute to that, and then launching the process from there. So those are my thoughts, and I think we have time here. I think we should take our time and think this through. Thank you.
I don't think that there's anything in the recommended motion that negates what Eric's talking about.
No, I mean, I think it just says to
Right.
award a contract
Right.
and to ask the town manager to get the ball rolling.
Right.
If I gather from maybe a show of heads or nods or whatever, that there's
Sure.
general consensus that these are all good approaches, then I'm happy to perform in that way.
How do people feel?
John, I'm curious from your point of view, like, how do you think this would land with staff if you were asking them to take a leadership role in this process and be part of a committee and dedicate time to that?
Well, I don't think you're asking all of staff to do that, right? I think Eric himself mentioned maybe the directors of 3 or 4 departments, the town manager, a couple select board members. So one might ask whether you folks can find a couple of members among your own number who would like to serve. That might be a good question to ask, if I could reverse that.
Okay, so
I'm certainly open to it.
Reasonable request to
No, it
ask
seems-
these 3
these-
department heads or
yeah.
whatever that they would, I mean, I think, yeah, the way.
I think in the past, Lori has been quite active
Yeah.
in the capital improvement plan,
Yeah.
however that's defined.
Yeah.
And of course, the larger departments that have bigger capital needs, DPW comes to mind, maybe Parks and Rec, or maybe fire department, that kind of thing. That would all make sense. And I think if I put out a call for, a handful or fewer department heads, then I think we'd probably get a good response.
Okay.
I don't see any problem working along those lines.
How do the rest of the people feel? Yeah.
I think that honestly, a lot of these department heads already do this work.
Yes, they are
And the thing
in
is
their
for
own
me,
silos.
Like Eric, I love your ideas. I think that's great. I think the great challenge that honestly has been in Hartford around committees is that getting those committees together, getting them to do the work, getting timelines that are realistic, getting good outcomes, and so on. So I think, I love the idea, but it's just a matter of like how you get the work done. And I agree with you that it would be nice at the end of this to have a toolkit that we could use moving forward without spending $20,000. It's kind of embedded in our culture and our work. But I just think, from what I've seen with, certain committees and outputs and getting people to even be on committees and doing the work, I see that as a big challenge for us to pull that off.
Well, maybe there's a middle space there, because I do think that if we're going to spend the money, we're going to get a tool at the end of it.
Mhm.
But I gather that it's just a matter of tactics. Eric has a nice vision for how we could stand this up ourselves and work with a consultant, but you have a view that says maybe we're not always able to generate enough people power to get it done. Or maybe there's some mix where we at least propose this approach to the consultant and get their feedback. And I can certainly report back if they see any particular problems in going in that direction.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably one of the most important planning processes that the town does on an annual basis. And we have to do it every year, or we should do it every year. When we're not doing it, there's missed opportunities, right? And so we got to get good at it.
Yeah.
So people power or not, like it is us. We are it. We need to learn to ride the bike. and we got to ride the bike every year.
Yeah.
And so if we have a set schedule, like the report gets delivered to the select board or whomever on August 1 or August 30 or whatever magic date it is that we come up with, then you just back plan and step into it. And the department heads are going to be critical. It doesn't get done without them. And so it's
And the
just a
good news
matter
is
of-
so much of this work really is already done.
right.
In the sense of the last workshop where they had to think about future and big projects. And we also have a pretty exhaustive list of capital assets on our insurance policy with VLCT. So, I mean, there's lots of resources that the consultant or us, or a combination, right, can already put to work and start creating at least the beginnings of a document that we can use.
Any other comments?
Just one final thought, just about thinking about the logistics, because I hear your point. It is really hard to like find a date that works for a committee. I think, I mean, I don't know, it would be up to the members of the committee, but it would make sense for me, or to me, if it was like within the 9 to 5 working hours is when the committee meets, because that's when instead of asking the department heads to make time outside of their normal hours. And so any other members who are able to join should take that into consideration, or that would be my suggestion. But
Like a working lunch or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we feed people, they might
They might
sign up.
yeah. If we think, I mean, again, I think the suggestion to have select board members is good. It's also just, it's a suggestion. I don't know. I don't know who's gonna decide ultimately
Well, that might
what the
be
committee is
something,
made up of,
Going
but
back to what,
Yeah.
Alex might
Yeah.
give us
Yeah.
some feedback.
yeah.
No, but I think I hear what you're looking for, and let me just probe him about that. I'm confident he'll say that's fine. And then we can talk about how we put out a call for volunteers to people this committee. So I guess we do still need a motion.
We do,
Yep.
we do. So I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair, move that the select board accept the proposal from Rethink Local to assist the town with the development of a comprehensive capital improvement plan at the cost of $20,500 and authorize the town manager to move the process forward accordingly, considering the conversation that just transpired.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, a second from Tim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the next item of business is consider approval of TIF warrant item for March 3rd Australian ballot and approval of declaration of intent to reimburse town expenditures.
And Lori is online, I believe.
I heard a little ding. So,
Lori, can you hear us out there?
There we go.
Good evening. I'm glad to be able to be here for you. And let me just, yeah, if I start to blink out, I may need to get off video because that's my weak spot here in Windsor sometimes. So it's real quick and easy. This is just a follow-up to the December 9th meeting where we had gone over some draft language for the TIF warrant that's going to be on being proposed for the March 3rd, 26 town meeting ballot, and also to finalize the wording for the declaration of intent to reimburse the town expenditures from proceeds of indebtedness. So I just wanted to get that before you. Hopefully you all received the updated version of this, and thank you, Eric, for pointing out something that also needed to be changed, that did not get changed. And then I also just, again, open up for any questions you might have on the language, but that's about all I need to say at this point.
Right.
Just as a note, Ashley is on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there some questions, comments for Lori from the board? Seems great. don't think anybody has any questions at the moment. Give you a second.
We need a formal motion. I don't know what.
There is an action request in the memo. Yes, I think so.
Does someone have the language for that? We'll just read it out.
Are you ready for motion?
Sure, I'm ready for a
Sure.
motion.
I move that we approved the revised TIF warrant language for inclusion in the select board's town warrants on the March 3rd, 2026 town meeting Australian ballot.
Is there a second? Second from Miranda. So since Ashley is on, I will take each individual vote. I'll start with you, Eric.
Aye.
Okay, Miranda?
Aye.
Ida?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
All right, and I vote aye. So that is 6-0, and Ashley just came on, as you know, Lana.
And then there's a second one. Yep.
Motion.
And there is a second motion.
Yes, so I
And you're gonna tackle that too, Ida?
Sure.
All right.
I move that we also approve the revised resolution declaring an intent to reimburse certain expenditures from proceeds of TIF indebtedness.
All right. Eric, I'll start again with you.
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Ida?
Do we have
There was a second we
Yeah,
needed.
We need a second first.
I'll second. that.
Okay,
Tim second, okay.
all right. I thought Miranda seconded.
That was the first one, sorry, I didn't jump on it, sorry.
Okay, all right, start again, Eric.
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Ida?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
All right, and I'll vote aye. Okay, so that is 6-0.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we are on to D, FY 2027 budget process update and recap.
Yes, thanks again, Madam Chair. Since December 16th meeting, the interim finance director and I have been working on implementing the 2027 select board budget decisions made by the board on December 4th, 9th, and 16th tentatively, and analyzing budget impacts of these decisions. Today, I noted that our revenue portion of this budget had no value expressed for parking revenue. So thanks to Tim Ferriel for having me focus on revenues today instead of the expenses, which I'd been enmeshed in. So I did restore that $110,000 figure that had been used in prior budgets for a couple of years, since we've been looking forward to getting these meters installed. Now it's actually happening, and that's the figure that we had been using as a projected revenue, very conservatively, I'll point out. The current draft budget represents a 5.3% increase in spending over fiscal year 26. The current draft represents a 1.5% increase in property taxes from the 2026 fiscal year to the 2027 fiscal year. If the town voters do as expected and vote in favor of using $137,000 of lot funding to be used in the general fund for further property tax relief, that would result in the property tax increase being reduced down to 0.7%. Assuming no more changes are planned for the fiscal year 27 budget, I'd be happy to share maybe as early as tomorrow or Friday when the packet comes out, the budget spreadsheets from Munismart for both revenues and expenses in anticipation of a January 6th select board meeting. I know that there are some of you who would like to take advantage of fresh memories and consider how this budget process worked for you, things that you felt went well, things that you felt could or should be done differently. I'm happy to discuss those as well.
There are comments from the board about recapping the process and what we think worked well, what we think we could do that might be more productive? Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to touch on some numbers first, but I guess I didn't realize that that was part of tonight's conversation.
I think Miranda brought it up. She wanted.
No. I understood that we were going to do a postmortem at some point. I just didn't know it was going to be rolled into this discussion tonight. I was actually going to propose it for the 6th.
I kind of agree with that. I think we should, I think that's a good approach, actually.
I mean, if everyone else did their homework, then, shame on me, but I just didn't understand that. So, so that would be my suggestion is if it's amenable, then we, maybe take that up on the 6th. It's still
Sure.
relatively fresh, unless depends on what you do New Year's Eve, I guess, but.
It works for me.
How do other people feel? Miranda, you were the one to propose that we had something.
Oh, no, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
Ashley also just put in the chat that she agrees.
Okay. Ida?
Yeah, that's fine.
Tim?
Yeah, and I think if people can put some thought into that, as you say, like come to the meeting, because everybody's got their ideas around that, but I think it's good to do a debrief. Because then next round you just learn from that.
So then we,
Homework, but I can wait.
so then we can jump into numbers, I think, as Eric wishes to do.
Yeah, and I thought that's what this was then.
That's what I sent late
Yeah.
today, which is kind of, has been a bit of a moving target. Steve and I are trying to make sure that we've incorporated the select board decision-making throughout the process.
So we can wait until the 6th then. If that's what you-
But there's going to be a discussion now, I guess, of budget numbers.
I just had what may be, or hopefully is a very simple question. It's really the bottom line in your memo to us this afternoon. If you factor in the 137,500 from the local option tax, you end up with 0.7%. I thought when we walked out of here on the 16th, and my memory says that we were at 0.2%, and the Valley News seems to concur with that. I think that was their article.
Yeah.
Can you, forgive me if I missed this in the flurry of emails, but can you give us a sense of the difference between the 0.2% and the 0.7%? What transpired? What did
I
we?
guess I will chalk it up to the fog of war.
Okay.
And Steve is online and maybe he can confirm that he and I did our best in real time to capture on his laptop all the decisions that were flying around back and forth. And when the dust settled and when we started putting the numbers together, we were a bit higher than we thought we were. So that's
Okay,
the answer.
fair enough. I just didn't know if
No,
any
that's the answer.
last minute things came in, like appropriation requests or something that we weren't aware of.
No, and that is something, it's almost like eating potato chips. You could continue to do it forever, if that's an analogy to be used. In other words, I learn things each day that could affect the fiscal year 27 budget. And I kind of hold myself and say, hey, wait a second, Haverstock, we're close to putting this to bed. Why open up a can of worms that could have all kinds of consequences, good, bad, and different? At the end of the day, the budget is our best effort to figure out what probably is going to happen in the future. Certainly, departments will overspend their budgets or underspend their budgets, but at the end of the day, it largely washes out to being a pretty accurate assessment of where we're going to go. So no, there was nothing. I haven't been adding, subtracting things as they come over the transom. This is Steve and I kind of making sure that the numbers we've been working with are pretty solid. And in the course of doing that, we realized we were a little bit off. So it may have been a double count of a lot article or a double count of one reduction or another. I can't put my finger on exactly what the difference is related to.
Okay, fair enough. That's a fog of war is a perfectly reasonable answer. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing any more detail.
Drafts.
Steve, is there anything you'd like to add to that if you're there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I don't think I need to add anything to that. I think John has very fairly and accurately characterized it. We have a few little beads of mercury that we can't quite pin down.
What do they say? There are lies, there are damn lies, and there are statistics. It probably also works in accounting.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Question.
Ida?
And in terms of other potential small adjustments that might be forthcoming. I mean, we know we've set the 2 revenue sources in terms of what we're gonna draw from unassigned funds.
Yes.
1.2.
2.
And well, we don't know for sure, correct me if I'm wrong, what the LST total, we're estimating 1.
Well, we're certainly estimating that we're going to collect 1.2, and that's why we're planning to only use 1.1
Right,
to be cautious and thinking that maybe in July, when those numbers are more complete, you might have the opportunity to apply even more toward the tax rates by putting an extra $50,000 or $100,000 on that.
Okay, and we'll know for sure what that total is by the time we.
By July, I think you'll have 9 months anyway of numbers. You'll have 3 quarters, I think. So you won't know the full year, but 3 quarters is a lot better than the 1 quarter we have now.
Right. Okay, so that could potentially, we're making a conservative estimate there.
I think so.
And then for the LOT.
Right. We know we're going to have at least 350,000 because we've had that for multiple years. And the ratio of town collections will be improving by that 70% to 75% change. In other words, as to both sales tax and lot, beginning October 1st, the town's share increases by 70% to 75%.
Right. I'm just wondering, so for the proposed lot item for the remaining.
Yes.
137,000, do we have to put a concrete number on that amount to be used on that warrant? I mean, I guess I'm trying to like maximize all the revenue sources as possible, but maybe the situation is we put our best estimate, ask voters to approve the additional $137,500, $137,500. And then if there is remaining, because this is the first year that we're collecting 75%, et cetera, then we'll just.
I think the people should probably understand that we're being cautious and conservative to see how these numbers play out. And in future years, there might be more than 350,000 of lot that you choose to recognize in your account and use for those purposes.
Because we might, even if all
That's
the
right.
articles get approved.
That's right.
There might be
That's right.
more than we budgeted for.
Yep.
Okay.
I got the impression though with the LOT that we were gonna kind of have that 350 as the ceiling. And then we had the items at 137. So whatever the residual was of what, if everything was voted, then obviously you would know that number.
Well, what we've got is, I think, 7 articles of the various items to be applied to lot if the voters approve. And that 7th one is the 137 and 137,500, which together with the other 6 articles equals $350,000. So we have used that as our ceiling.
It's just funny for me that we're referencing this as impacting the tax rate, because it strikes me that there's a fund, the LOT fund, and we're putting in front of voters things that do you want to use those funds for that? So it shouldn't.
Well, maybe you could use
money in, money out.
Maybe you could use the word property tax impact.
What's needed to be raised by property tax.
Yeah, as opposed to other things. And I think that's part of the reason, or a large part of the reason why the voters were asked to approve the sales tax to diversify your revenue sources. You might take the position that most of that money comes from town, but yeah, there's a substantial portion of it that doesn't come from town.
Any other comments?
Okay, we'll get that on the agenda for the wrap-up session on the 6th.
Thanks to you and Steve for working all these numbers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the rest of
And
us.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so we are down to the consider proposal to add a town meeting ballot article on curbside recycling.
Yes, so Ashley Andreas wanted to have this, or Andreas. I always mispronounce your name, Ashley. Please identify your last name as you begin your remarks so I can learn better.
Ashley, are you there?
Sorry, I lost connection a little bit. Can you repeat that cue up you did there, John?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to pronounce your last name. So with apologies.
That's okay. It's an odd one. It's Andries. but it's spelled Andreas.
Okay, thank you. So take it away.
Sure. So yeah, I had proposed this as, what I kind of consider to be a good approach as an interim solution between, the current situation of terminating the last contract or not renewing the last contract and figuring out what we want to do long term with a real vision and strategy for all of our solid waste in the future. I wasn't necessarily proposing this as like, let's have curbside recycling through this one provider forever. But in the interim, while we figure out what we want to do as a town in the long term, I think we should offer the voters the opportunity to choose if this is a service that they want to have access to while we work out the bigger plan. So I'm hoping that other board members might similarly want to give the choice to the voters with the dollar amount. We have some information. I'm open to and hoping for feedback on how it would make the most sense to word it, especially because this bid is either a 3 or a 5 year contract. It's not just a 1 year dollar amount. We would be locked in for more than 1 year. But yeah, that's kind of my gist. I hope I'm not rambling, and I'm curious to know what others think and ideas that others.
Okay, I'll open it to commentary, discussion, thoughts, whatever. Tim?
Yeah, a citizen reached out to me this week about this very topic, and and I've kind of wrestled with it quite a bit actually in terms of, I when the board initially did that, I was like, what were they thinking? And then I said, hey, that's pretty reasonable actually, considering that Casella had moved this number substantially. And for me, the other challenge a little bit is if let's say we went out to voters, you could do a couple different layers here. You could do a layer one, which would be, should the town reconsider re-implementing curbside recycling, right? To at least get a pulse of the problem I have a little bit with that is that the number of people that actually come and vote versus the number of people that are actually in this town is often way off skew. Certainly in a non-presidential election cycle, we get about, I'm going to say 1,500 voters. And I just don't necessarily think that's a good read on the population as it relates to, in other words, typically the people that show up are passionate about town issues or passionate about curbside or, so you get a skewed perspective on where the town actually is on the matter. And I think if you said to voters that, we were going to start a contract with Casella at a, initial price of $500,000 to relaunch curbside recycling, I would be pretty surprised the number of voters that would say, yeah, let's do that. But I don't know that. And I guess maybe that's why you want to do this vote. But I don't know. I mean, for me personally, I bought a transfer station sticker for the first time in probably 10 years. And I took my stuff down there. It took me 20 minutes. I got rid of everything that I had, collected for over a month. Took very little time. They were great down there. They were polite, very easy to use. So, I'm not in favor of representing this to the voters this year.
Other board members? Here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that based on a discussion I had with Ashley, we both understand that there's longer term, there's the potential for much different vision, something that works better for a greater portion of the population. And so really where we disagree, I think, is whether or not it makes sense to put this on the ballot as a short-term fix. And my position is that it does not. And part of that goes back to the philosophical stance that if I don't understand it, if I don't understand the true cost benefit of this program, then how can I reasonably expect voters to understand it? And so voters will vote in their own self-interest, and that's okay in some cases. But I think for a democracy to function well, we want people to vote not only in our own self-interest, but in what serves the community well. And I don't know that we have the the information to answer that question very well. And that's what's really sort of stuck in my craw here. And so I think, you know, we've torn the Band-Aid off back in April. And that was painful. If we haven't yet created a vision for where we're going, which I hope we'll start on in the new year, but if we haven't defined that trajectory, we're proposing an interim solution with a potential for tearing the Band-Aid off again with maybe a 3-year contract. That doesn't seem to offer the continuity that we should be offering to voters, especially at the price point that we're suggesting here, which the 3-year contract is basically $1.9 million or $625,000 averaging, average over the year. And this is, these are Casella's estimates. And I think some of the numbers may not be included there, if I understood the email from Brian Gazda. So I think it could be disruptive. It's expensive. And I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think this is a sustainable approach in the long term. So I do think the Band-Aid would have to be torn off again. And going back to the benefits, it's if we look at Brian's Q3 recycling collection numbers from the transfer station, it's clear the numbers have gone way up. On average, if you average the 5 categories of recycling, they've gone up 125% across the board. From the low to 80% to the high was 189%. So a lot more material is coming in, at least in a relative sense. Whether in an absolute sense, it makes up the balance of what Casella was collecting, I don't know. I don't know where it's going. Some of it's going to Lebanon, some of it's being picked up on the curbsides, and some of it's going to the transfer station. And some of it's probably going to the landfill. Unfortunately, that's the part that seems to be a mystery. I just don't know that we can quantify that. So it feels like, from an ideological perspective, I don't like the idea of putting something on the ballot that I can't myself understand well enough to know whether it would be a benefit to the community or not.
Miranda.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Miranda?
Yeah, I would say actually, thank you for keeping the ball rolling on this, because I do feel like, lots of moving parts on things, so things slip through the cracks. But I think I do agree with you, Eric, on, my initial thought process was, yeah, let's let the community decide. But I think we also haven't done our due diligence, like you're saying, of like actually finding a long-term solution to this. And so I wonder if maybe something like a task force with community members involved, maybe some staff, some select board members could like actually form a plan around this. Because I feel like we haven't come to we've wanted it, but we haven't actually come to a planning session around this, around what we're actually going to do.
We actually have done a feasibility study.
Well, yes, yeah.
So, we could revisit that and look that over, because there were suggestions. That was fairly recent, within the last couple of years.
I wanted to comment too, we have a new public works director coming in. It's an opportunity to look at those programs at large, both the operation of the transfer station. I know Brian had mentioned the idea that could ultimately be just a zero sort facility, which I actually think would be great, much easier to use. Maybe ultimately we could relocate that station where it's more centralized and more convenient for residents. But I think we really need to do that research and set up a program that people are happy to use and are using. I think the other one, I'm still not clear. Casella indicated that they were not going to do this new program without the grab and go. Like you would actually have to take that tote, bring it somewhere near the road, and they would grab it like they do in downtown. And I would expect for a lot of residents that would actually be incredibly inconvenient if they have a long driveway and they're pushing this tote in the winter out to the roadside so the machine can grab it. I mean, is that practical for them? So I think some of that additional research and fact finding needs to happen before we make a decision like this.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, Ashley, I know you're passionate about this, and it's good to be passionate about, we all have passions. I started thinking about this from stepping out of my personal space and from the perspective of if someone had been following our meetings on the budget and we started with, we don't want to, we try and keep the budget at 4%. We started with that and not to go over that. And Casella's contract starts off with 10% over the past contract and then 5% each year following
It's very
that.
aggressive.
So it is aggressive. And I said to myself, okay, with what we've cut from the budget, if people looked at it, I mean, we cut 2 patrolmen, which would have been about $200,000. We cut $100,000 in paving, and that's still not up to the $500,000 plus. And I'm going, wow, if I saw that, I'd say, what are you guys doing? You've cut all these other things, and now you're adding more onto it. And they might think we're crazy. But like I said, the people who want this are very passionate, but I keep going back to the fact that only 50% of the town uses it. And now I will step into my personal space and say, I'm in a homeowners association. We do have Casella, so I would be paying twice. I would be paying my homeowners association fees, which includes our recycling, and then I'd be paying for the town on top of that. So, I can't support this at this moment, and I think we haven't, as Eric and Miranda said, I don't think we've given it enough time. We've really had 7-8 months at the most. So that's why I don't think this is a good time to put this on the ballot. Miranda?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't know how to raise my hand in this function, so my hand is up.
I was just gonna ask John really quick, what would the process look like if we wanted to do something like a task force for this? Like what interest do you have to garner, or
I think just like you set up a Bugby advisory committee, you could, launch a new committee, seek volunteers, or have in mind yourself who the stakeholders might be. We could, as staff, propose a group of people that we feel might represent the people in town who have a stake in this. But I mean, that might only capture the people who are committed to restoring curbside recycling. I would argue that there'd be a large share of the population that might say, we have moved on, we've made our new arrangements, there's a new normal, and there's not a great appetite to get back into the mire and wallow around in it. So you can create a task force, but the devil will be, who do you appoint? Do you appoint only the people who agree that we should restore this service?
Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think my suggestion is we look at it more broadly, and we look at solid waste. And so we have part of the answer, or we have some information from the feasibility study, but that's only part of what we need as an input. And we should be looking at all the streams of waste, and we should be thinking out 15, 20 or more years, if that's even possible. It feels difficult these days, but and we should start with some sort of visioning process, and then we should set up, I think, a committee or a commission. It could be even a standing commission that is charged with coming up with strategies and implementation for that. And I have, my own sets of ideas about vision. Looking at best practices in Japan or in Norway or wherever else, and seeing what can we borrow from these other locations, understanding that we're culturally different, we're geographically different, and we have all these other differences. But I think we start with a vision, and I'd be happy to put something down on paper to offer to the board as a way to start this process in sometime in January. That we again, rolling in the idea that we have to also address the transfer station, and understanding that we have a feasibility study there, but just sort of sketching out a process that the board can then consider and decide whether we want to tweak it and or go forward with it, or just not go forward with it, just flat out consider the feasibility study options that are on the table for us and call it good there. But that's my offer to the board.
I want to speak, but I know Ashley has her hand up, so maybe she should go first. Sure. Ashley?
Oh, thanks, Ida. Yeah, I just wanted to respond a little bit to, you all have excellent points. I don't think anybody is, I don't strongly disagree with anybody about all the technical details and the cost of the service. But what I feel like we're missing as a board, and this is how I felt coming off of the campaign trail last year, almost 1 year ago, was that I canvassed hundreds of doors. I spoke at forums. I went to community events, and like the biggest feedback that felt uniform was like the board doesn't listen to the residents. And there were very good examples that residents gave as to why they felt that their decision making was not being, honored by current or past boards. And I understand their frustration with that. And I understand why it feels like a lack of accountability and transparency. And so I just think that this is, yes, I understand that over the 3 years, it's, adds up to be like $1.some million. But when you look at our overall budget, it's not a huge, it's a manageable amount of money, and it's a direct service that every single resident has the ability to use. So for me, that says a lot. You get what you pay for. And I just think that it's a respect to voters that we tell them that as a board, we are hearing them. There's very few issues that you can talk to residents from all sides of the political aisle that they agree on, and this is one of them. And to me, that's something we need to pay attention to, and we need to listen to the voters. So I was elected to represent the voters. This is what I'm hearing from voters. I really hope you guys will consider that in your decision making.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I do want to sort of add another perspective or to the discussion. I think so we're not discussing whether or not we as board members and leaders in the town think that reinstating the Casella contract is a good idea or not. We're discussing whether we should get voter input on that question. And I agree with a lot of the points and sort of cautions and fears around like, well, what if the voters say we should restart the contract? And then, so we're committing to another 3 years of a really high, a high budget item. And then we might be we're changing the plan again after 3 years, after we spend those 3 years deciding what we're going to do about our transfer station, about recycling as part of that. And that would be another Band-Aid pulling process, which would be challenging. However, I think the argument that there's not enough information, I'm not fully convinced by, because I think, anytime we are asking, it's an opportunity basically to ask voters for their input. And we know that this is a topic where there's a range of, there's a lot of people on one side and there's a lot of people on the other, and there's no way to tell how many, what the majority of the town really wants for this topic. And while yes, voter turnout does not represent the whole population, we have no better way to ask individuals' opinions on a matter that is relevant to them and the town than, putting it, when they come to vote for a number of things, and this could be one of them. And it is part of our duty as leaders to solicit input from residents. And I know we all do that in our daily lives and in conversations and correspondence that we have with residents. This is another way to get that really direct input on a very controversial topic that no one really knows where it would fall in terms of the voter, how the vote would go. And I think from what I understand from what Ashley put forward, the idea from her point of view is it's a stopgap measure. It's like a way to say, do you want us to have a contract with Casella for 3 years while we figure out what our longer term plan is? and this is what the cost would be. I mean, those inputs are clear. We know exactly, not exactly, but we basically know what Casella is gonna charge us annually for the next 3 years. We can have that described clearly, and then the risks are determined by each individual. Like, do they want that? Is it worth it? Is it worth to pay this much more in their taxes for the benefit that they might receive, or the benefit they think the whole town overall would receive, even if it's not something that any one person is going to use? Maybe they feel like, you know, as a town, this is a service that I want my town that I live in and I pay taxes in to provide this service. So I don't know. I think even though it's a messy topic, I think it is a good opportunity to get voter input directly and to use the warrant item as a way to do that.
So having said that, could you or Ashley articulate what that could even look like on a ballot? Would you do like just a straight question? And so, you know, my view is like, let's pretend 1,700 voters show up and 80% of them say, yeah, we want curbside recycling. Then what? We're kind of at the same place where we still would need to do. I mean, are we doing like that we would embrace this Casella contract if they indeed approve it and say, okay, guys, you're going to spend year one $594,000 for curbside recycling? And so, I mean, are you guys suggesting we should put that on the ballot as that and say to people, and it will impact your taxes X or something of that nature? So I think they should know that if they're going to spend this amount of money, what's it going to cost them?
Yeah, Madam Chair, could I respond to that?
Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely my intention, Tim, is to put the dollar amount right there with it. I think that's critical information. I don't think it's, I wouldn't want to do it if we didn't tie the cost to it. And I think it would, you know, we also have to be able to include in that language that it's a 3-year commitment. So we would either need to list out the cost per year, or we'd have to list the average cost of the 3 years and say for, you know, plus or minus this amount for 3 years. And then it would also, I think, be helpful to translate there how much that would cost a household, you know, valued at 250,000, you know, like $100 a year, whatever it is. Because I think that's the amount that a voter really understands, is like, this is how it will affect this is my tax burden, rather than like this just big number that's in this big budget. And my proposition would be that it's written in a way that is, do you want us to add this to the budget? So the budget above is of this dollar amount. Should the select board or should the town add this amount to the 2027 budget?
Brandon, is there somebody on? I saw
No.
Steve Daly's.
I think he does.
Okay.
I would also, I think if it was on the ballot too, I would also like to see it represented. I don't know how this would look, or if this is something that you all could do, but like as a percentage increase too, right? So like we have this 0.7 right now. So then on the ballot, it would say, you know, if the lot is approved, this would be the budget increase total.
Yeah, 137 is about an 0.8% difference. We learned that from our math on the budget. So
Okay.
if you were to extrapolate, we could certainly come up with a number.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think having that on the budget would also be helpful for folks overall, like as an additional number. I think both the home, like a $250,000 home would pay about this, and then also the percentage.
Yeah, I don't know if like we need to come up with that language right now, or if John and the, you know, the finance director would want to help come up with that language.
Well,
But
obviously, if there's a majority vote in favor, we will do our best to craft some language. We would hopefully want it ready for warrant and information night. So I think January 6th would be the last chance to kind of finalize what those articles look like.
yeah, and I think that my only other concern, and I know this just kind of maybe is how it is, but like Mike's not here tonight, and I don't know his stance on this. So that's kind of a bummer. I was hoping that we'd all be able to be there to make a vote. But I think, yeah, if a vote needs to happen now, in order for it to happen in time, then.
Ashley, may we suggest, could you by the next meeting, draft a ballot? I mean, the other alternative stream here would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can go out and petition for something to be balloted. So even if this select board chose not to put it on there, you could do an activism thing out in the community and get it as a ballot initiative and get it on the ballot.
About 500.
Ooh, did the deadline pass though?
No, you'd have to ask Lisa O'Neill about that in the clerk's
I
office.
don't know the requirements of getting something on the ballot, but is it 500?
It's about 500. I think
That's pretty impressive.
the family place had to have like 485, so it's about 500.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Chuck's been waiting maybe to say something.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for the chance to speak to this issue tonight. Very quick.
Sorry, would you introduce yourself, Chuck?
Oh,
Your
sorry, Chuck
name
Worcester,
and name
White
and
River.
residence, yeah.
Yeah. This was added at town meeting about 20 years ago, and we voted from the floor, and it was fantastic. Because at the time, there was no way for your recycling to get collected in town. Like if you wanted to recycle, you had to bring it to the transfer station. That was your only option. And so by having the town provide this service, it really supported recycling for the first time, which was great. So it was at the floor, we voted for it, everyone was psyched, it's great. Since then, two things have happened. One is, is the prices increased tenfold. It was $50,000 20 years ago. So it's unfortunately, there's only one vendor that can provide this. They charge us what they charge us, and there it is. The second thing is that now in Vermont, every private hauler who picks up trash has to pick up recycling. So if you're somebody in town who has a private hauler, they have to pick up the recycling at the same price. Or another way to say it is, if your recycling is already factored into the price that you're paying, whether you have them pick it up or not. So really now we have a situation where we have half the town, presumably that's taking their stuff to the recycling center, they're fine. We have half the town that has a private hauler who's picking up their stuff, and they are also already paying for that service, whether they use it or not. It's built into their contract. So I know you guys have talked about this in the spring. I think you made a really great decision back then. And I would urge you not to put it on the ballot for the only reason, which is 20 years ago at the floor meeting, you would have had to listen to somebody like me, an old curmudgeon guy, stand up and say, you're already paying for this and it's gone up tenfold. But if you walk into Australian Ballot, you're seeing this issue for the first time. And the question really is, do you support recycling? And I think we would all vote for that. And if I didn't know anything about the issue, I would certainly vote in favor. But that's not really what the question is. The question is, should the town spend, an additional $600,000 a year for something that either the half the town doesn't want and the other half that does want it is already paying for it. So I'd encourage you to keep it off the ballot.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Is there anybody else online? I think we need a straw poll, or we need a vote. There is no motion.
And Madam Chair, just to respond to Tim's question, yes, I would be willing to write up ballot language before the next meeting, but I'd have to check in with Lisa about the deadline if I did want to, if the board did not want to put it on and myself or other like independent residents wanted to petition to have it on, I would want to get that date information. I wouldn't want to prolong until the next meeting to decide if the deadline is like, a week from then or 3 days from then. But yes, either way, I'm happy to bring language to work with John, maybe even to formulate a ballot item to bring to the next meeting.
I mean, I think I know what the ingredients are that many people have asked for. I don't think it'd be that difficult to draft some language. I guess the real question is there 4 votes to support going forward with it?
I don't think we should count on Mike, because that would be the first day back in the legislature.
But should we do a straw poll? Is that beneficial?
If there's a motion, why doesn't someone make a motion?
I agree.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ashley.
I move that the board add a ballot item for the March election to ask voters if they would like to reinstate the Casella contract to offer curbside recycling to all residents of the town of Hartford.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Miranda seconds it. Okay, let's take a voice vote. Let's start with Eric.
Nay.
Miranda,
Aye.
Ida,
Aye.
Tim,
Nay.
and I vote nay.
Hi.
And Ashley votes aye. So we've got 3-3.
Do we do ties?
The motion fails.
Motion fails. Okay. Sorry about that, Ashley. So let's move on then to ratify select board leadership approval of AP payment manifest.
Yes, Mary has been very gracious to sign off on the board's behalf during the holiday season. Now it's time for the board to repay the favor by ratifying what she's done. And so we would need a motion to ratify those items that she handled over the holidays.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Eric.
I move that the select board ratify the actions of select board leadership to provisionally approve the payroll manifest of December 24th, 2025, the payment manifest of December 19th, 2025, and the check register payroll ending December 20th, 2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Tim. Okay. Let's vote on this. Eric,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Ida,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Ashley. And I vote aye.
She's still there?
It
She's
says-
still there, but.
Oh. Ashley,
She's in a row.
That's certainly a majority.
yes,
Leave it as a.
okay.
I'm sorry, I lost you there. Were you wanting me to?
We were asking you to vote on the payroll
Yes,
manifest.
I,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, 6-0.
And if you would, sometime this evening, sign off on the table. Those documents are there.
Okay, then we are down to commission reports. Tim,
I have nothing to report.
Ida,
Did attend an energy commission meeting. A lot of focus. Dana's really involved with the hazard mitigation plan update and is putting a lot of time into contributing to that. More discussion about possible bike parking and whether to sort of have more low grade, easy options for bike parking versus like think about it more carefully and have some covered bike parking as a goal for downtown. And so I think part of what I took away from the conversation, which I'm hoping will happen, is that for the consulting contract we approved for the multimodal parking study that is going to happen, that Lori's department is going to be involved with. I'm recommending to the Energy Commission that, and to via them to the planning department, that there can be like communication between that the Energy Commission and the multimodal study on a like regular check-ins basically, because I think covered bike parking should be something that's incorporated into that that study and planning process.
thank you. Miranda,
I know what's.
Eric,
Thank you, Madam Chair. From the Historic Preservation Commission, I can report that the kiosk at Railroad Row, so on the very corner of Veterans Park, it's been a long time since those were refreshed. The panels that are on that kiosk, they're a little faded. And in review of the content of that material that are on those, I believe it's 4 different panels. The Historic Preservation Commission came up with some ideas on refreshing the content. And so what initially started as maybe we just need to reprint because the sun has faded these things over 20 years is now turned into a sort of a more exciting project of let's get the content updated. Let's get QR codes on these things so that tourists walking around downtown or us can get some more information about the historic district, about the water, the Connecticut River waterways, and so on and so forth. So that'll be going on for several months, I think. It seems like a process where they're going to be soliciting community input for a while, and then bringing in a content designer that can help them professionally produce some replacement panels. So pretty excited about it because I like those things. Thank you.
great, thank you. Ashley, do you have any commission reports?
Yeah. No, I don't have any reports.
Okay. And I don't either. All right, so, consent agenda, I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Eric.
I move that the select board approve the meeting minutes of December 9th, 2025 and December 16th, 2025, and approve future meetings of January 6th, 2026, January 20th, 2026, with a special meeting if needed on January 22nd, 2026.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ida. Okay, I'll take a vote. I'll start with Tim.
Aye.
Ida,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ashley,
Aye.
and I will say aye. So 6-0. Okay, we have an executive session. Would someone like to read the motion? Miranda?
Sure. I move to find that premature general public knowledge would clearly place this body and or persons involved in a substantial disadvantage pursuant to 1 BSA section 313A1. And I move that we discuss personal matters pursuant to 1 BSA section 313A3.
Is there a second?
I will second both of those motions.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So we have Miranda and to Eric. Tim,
Aye.
Ida, Miranda,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ashley,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Okay, so we will move into executive session. Okay,
Madam Chair.
yes, Ida,
Since our clerk had to leave the meeting a bit early, I'm going to make a motion that we come out of executive session and no action was taken during the session.
okay, and is there a second?
Second that motion.
Second from Tim. Since there are only the 5 of us now, because Ashley left us during executive session, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
second by Tim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
and happy New Year to you all.
Thank you.
Stay